Hey folks, and welcome back to TIMBERPUNK, and what I think is going to be the last video on here, we're going to move on and start something fresh. There were a couple of suggestions for things to do, but there's a bit of feedback to also say that they felt that things were done, and personally, I feel that we're done as well. If I hadn't have come up with a few projects that captured my imagination, I was kind of done with this series at a few different points, so we are going to move on after this video, and I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. As you're watching it, you will know, because there's that little bar at the bottom of YouTube. I don't know. I have played on, I think, probably about a cycle and a half, maybe 2 cycles. We're in the midst of the second bad tide that I've played through. Things will look a bit different when we turn around. Got a lot more science, so we'll deal with that. I've built some more power storage. There's a bunch of the large horizontal, it says vertical, but to me they seem horizontal, large framed flywheels here, which are storing a bunch more power. I've changed the trigger for this to be off of battery charging. It's down at 4% because we've got a lot more power storage now, so these will only switch off once the batteries have drained. That has happened, but I've changed some things to mitigate that happening now. I've got rid of the construction circus. I got kind of bored of that, and I didn't achieve that objective, but it's fine. We do have enough science available now to increase a water source, and I might do that. I did end up with actually filling the Dragon Sea during one of the temperate cycles, but only during one of them, and I had to make some alterations, and I'll show you those as well. But the first thing I'm going to show you is what I've been working on while you guys were gone. And normally I would show you the process of building this, but as we were pretty much done, while you guys were gone, I've built this. So someone did say they wanted to see how much power we could get out of this. This is far from optimal, but I ripped out all of the thorns. I stripped out all of the scrap metal, and I've done a little bit of terrain sculpting. The reason I say it's far from optimal is these are all sat on platforms, and because it all has to go through these openings, they could probably be levees. There's so much flow that I've had to leave the back open. I closed the back. That did bad things. So if I set the game running, I think actually I might need to settings. I know we are on high settings. It looks a little bit janky. I was running it on my laptop and it was on low. So I've got a clutch over here so that we can disconnect it. So you can see how much power this thing generates. Because on its own, we're disconnected. It's probably not, because we've got these. If I delete this guy, I needed some charging. Yeah, this thing generates 75,000 HP. Each wheel is generating about 2,500 HP. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. Obviously, it only runs during a bad tide. The flow through here has varied. So I opened all of these up. Before I opened all of these up, there was about 10 CMS going through one of these. Yeah, it's pretty serious. We could maybe have a bit more if I tweaked this a little bit, but it's doing a lot, and I've got another 15 of the large framed flywheels going in here, so that we can potentially just store up ridiculous amounts of power over here during bad times. Yeah, this thing's stupid. It's just as simple as that. It's pretty stupid. But it's fun, you know, it's fun. So that's that. Over here, I put in a little tunnel to connect these up so that this area is no longer isolated from the water, the rest of the water system. So it will be able to flow through and be used. I just had to put an impermeable floor where the tubeway is. That's that done. And the other thing, I'd spoken about flow optimization previously, and all that was simply flooded building. What's that? Was the problem that we had was that we couldn't get enough water out of this reservoir. And that was really limited by getting water out of here predominantly. There's another bit I need to show you as well that I'd forgotten, which was a suggestion by one of you. So what I've done is I simply, if I can get my layer tool to work, I just widened this out one more level, and that was enough that we can get water flowing through here consistently, and this stays at a steady like 6.5, so the water just flows through both of these and through here. The other thing that I've done, you will spot, is I've built a bit of an I reconstructed this bit of aqueduct using mostly terrain blocks, and then there is a fill valve here to keep this full, and then there's another one here to keep this full, and then I put this little aqueduct here, and I had to make this a tiny bit wider, and then this one just keeps a little bit of water in here, and I put a floodgate here to try and stop this continuously pumping because it was draining this a lot, and I want it to keep a little bit of water in here but not ridiculous amounts. So, and then I also added in a water dump here with some control on it to just keep a bit of hydration in here. So that's that. Do I have that set to be really low though? Yes. Probably want to make that be a bit deeper. So script. We probably want that to be 1.6. Save script. Or maybe not actually. Let's leave it. Yeah, let's leave it because it's doing a job. It's doing a job. So that's that. All right, up here, because we had quite a lot of water sat in here, I increased the width of this, but I've also put in some floodgates here, and I need to tweak the settings on these a little bit now. These can go up a bit, because I've then also raised a bit of a wall along here, so this is all one consistent height now. So yeah, so that's that. That's all of the things that I did, because this was a bit lower and this caused a bit of an issue. But anyway, so we've got our 500,000 science, so we can go into DevTools and make this 1.6 now. So that'll be cool, and you can see this is staying relatively full. It does evaporate quite a lot because it's quite a big area, so you know, but it's not awful. It's not awful. It's just quite a lot of water. Just thinking. No, we're probably okay. We're probably okay. Yeah, so really, there's not a huge amount for me to do left on here because I kind of did most of the stuff that I wanted to do. I ran a tubeway and a power line because basically it was taking quite a while for the beavers to get all the way out here. This is all of the scrap metal from the thing that was here. Because there was a lot, so I just threw in a whole load of scrap metal flags to rip that out. Yeah, so power situation is good. Obviously, it would be better if we could store a whole load of that, which is the point of this, because this is going to give us 15 times 150,000 of extra power storage, and our power storage is already really good. So yeah. But I kind of think we're at the point where we're pretty much done. Apart from seeing if we can fill up the Dragon Sea, this is all working as I want it to now, which is good. Let's have a quick look at well-being. We could do with a bit more of a few bits and pieces. I think a lot of that is just because we've still got some beavers working down here. Mainly doing hauling, I think. And could we get away with them not doing hauling? Maybe. We don't have a lot of building going on up here. So probably what I could do is pause a bunch of those. So this district has 33 unemployed bots. It has a minimum of 120. So if I reduced that to 90, sent them back, then if I go into here and send all the beavers over to that district, I'm just going to pause for a second. I think what would be sensible at this point, as sensible as I get anyway, would be to go housing, throw a couple of breeding pods in over here, and then get rid of all of these breeding pods. And yeah, there's probably some half-brood abominations in there, but you know what? With where we are, I don't think it matters. By abominations, I mean, you know, the weirdness. The weirdness that is how Iron Teeth make more beavers. Yeah, I think if we do that, and then come in here, do District 1, beavers, and let you all to be bots. The district center is there. They're pretty much covered. Awesome. And then we'll come over here. Let's prioritize you by haulers. Thank you very much. Do we have berries in this district? We do. We do not have cassavas in this district, which is interesting. We have all of the foods, so I'm not really fussed. And what I'm thinking is we have vacancies, but we have incapacitated, which probably just means they need to be charged. So that's fine. And then I'm going to hit the launch button and see if we can get our max well-being, or close to our max well-being. Let's run at faster speed. But I'm not even sure what max well-being is. And we've got everything. It's just whether they can all access it, I guess. There are the swimming pools for wet fur. I wonder if we build a bunch more moat showers. You know, because moat showers are the way to do wet fur, obviously. Ye olde moat shower. Is the way to go, folks. It's the way to go. If yeah. Coffee. Does this district have coffee? Must do. It must do. Yeah. Do we have coffee down in the basement? Do not appear to. Let's duplicate that and put another one there. That'll hopefully help with that requirement. Campfires and rooftop terrain. Got plenty of space for campfires, so that's not really an issue. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's come on, game, catch up. I'm going to move those before they start building them. Being start down here. 1, 2, 6 campfires. All of your campfiring needs. Go. Let's do more rooftop terrain. Do something like that. B for copy. There gives us one more of those. We can get rid of those. Let's then do that and that. And they'll also benefit from the beaver bust thingamabob then. Awesome. That'll help boost those up. We really need more scratchers. Okay. Scratchers. I guess we could reduce the working hours as well because they don't actually have to work now. And I'm assuming bots ignore working hours because bots work 24 hours a day. So not that any of them really have jobs. So let's just double check that actually. If I go into Forest Farms and got a couple of hauling posts. Now what I could do is make up for the fact that we've done the dirty on working time by throwing in more hauling posts. So, and just have a bunch of them working like a really slack day. A bunch of part-time haulers. If they're all doing like a short day, that's going to be efficient, isn't it? Yeah. Make it like a 6-hour work day. I could no, I couldn't handle 6 hours. But for beavers, that's fine, isn't it? You could even make it less. I don't know how much they can achieve in a 4-hour workday, but all right. So I've done scratches. Swimming pool, somehow they're okay. We could do with more of all of these, which is kind of a challenge, and not in a good way. Well-being, bit there. You are getting a path to it's a bit of a fact. What we could do is put that there. We could put power there, 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 and I think there. Get rid of that. Copy that. B for duplicate. That's not going to work. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate that and put it there. Get rid of that. Put that there. And then do an automation that and run that all over there. And that should be good. And then what we can do is... I don't think we can actually because of the roof structure. Yeah, okay. Make sure those are also prioritized by haulers, our part-time hauling force. Let's have some part-time builders as well, shall we? Might as well, you know. Bloody part-timers. But, you know, why not, eh? Why not? How are we looking over here? Oh, awesome, they're on the last lot. We are not necessarily going to need, actually, because they can build it from above. Yeah, cool. And it's just going to give it so much power storage. Hopefully we'll have time to top it up. Cool. More of that. Good stuff. To 74 well-being. I don't know what maximum's going to be. They're getting there. They're getting there. Coffee and shelter. Are we short of housing in this district now? We are. Now, one of you did mention are we going to have enough houses? And you are right. So, I guess let's housing. They hold 8, 60, 24, 32. Let's do a bunch. That is ample extra housing. That's going to look ugly, but it'll be fine. Let's boost those up as a priority. Stuff. Cool. Awesome. If we get the housing, then it's just coffee. Why are we short of coffee? I click on there. We are out of coffee in this district, but not overall. So are we importing coffee? Manage distribution. We are not importing coffee. There's your problem. Well, let's get on that, shall we, folks? And we probably want some kind of storage for coffee somewhere. They'll be all right. They'll work it out. So we might need some kind of storage for coffee nearby. But I trust them. I trust them to deal with it. So if you click on here now, they have some coffee coming in. Awesome. Good stuff. Guess what we could do to help is go storage. Coffee obtain prioritized by haulers. And we're kind of low on coffee for some reason. Coffee. Working and productivity is very low, but you know, hopefully we will have sufficient. I can't be bothered to do the automation. We've got a well-being of 76, so that's pretty good. Not quite maximum. Now we just need to build the houses. We'll be there. And that is one of the few Steam achievements that I'm missing for these guys. So that'd be cool. You don't need you. You can go. Off you pop. So that one's done. It just needs to be finished being built. That one is waiting on metal blocks. We certainly seem to have plowed through some of the resources doing this building project, but that's fine. It'll catch up. It'll catch up. Not sure why they're not finishing building this, but you know, it is okay. It is okay. It'd be really nice if we got this finished with time to charge these up, because we have a really big power excess at the moment. You know, dudes and botesses. But we need them to be bringing over all of the stuffs. There's a lot of stuffs needed still. I don't know if I've got storage for everything. I don't think I have, which is part of the problem. But they are flying through the tubeway network, so yeah. So thoughts for next time. And it's probably going to be a few days because I need to get it set up. I know it's been a few days since the last one of these anyway. So it was a holiday weekend, folks, and I was helping my daughter finally finish moving back home from uni. So that was kind of tiring. We had to do a bonus trip to get the rest of her stuff. So yeah. Anyway, I think unconnected building. Ah. Gosh. Buildings lack goods. What buildings lack goods? Oh, they'll sort themselves out. Yeah, so as I said, my plan, I think, is some sort of hard mode. But I am open to your recommendations / suggestions. I thought that was nearly finished, but somehow they're still only bringing metal blocks in. How are we doing for metal blocks? We have plenty of metal blocks, so we have a lot of vacancies, and the vacancies are probably in hauling. So even if I were to do something like metal blocks obtain, it would probably still not be super helpful. But anyway, all the beavers are now housed. But we've suddenly lost a tiny bit of our max well-being. So maybe we will achieve it, maybe we won't. What we need is and to bring this metal over. And it would be really nice if some of the haulers did some of that work for us. Obviously, it would be faster. But yeah, so what I'm thinking is a harder mode. I haven't found a map yet, so if you have map suggestions, that would be good. I'd kind of like something with flowing water, and that's obvious in a game like this. I'd like to try out the river raft mod, possibly, eventually. I think it looks kind of cool. There's quite a few mods I would like to try out. Whether they will be compatible with what I'm trying to do, I don't know. I need to try and find a bit of time to do some testing of settings because I've not done that yet. And I don't want to just dive in headlong because that will probably end in disaster. I want this to be difficult enough that I might fail. If that bothers you, basically. One of the fun things, so back in the mists of time, cast your minds back to when JC started doing Apocalypse mode. When he first played it and he had the double consumption and stuff, and I don't know, I think he colony wiped? I can't remember. I tried so many times to achieve success with those settings. I can't remember if I did or not. I can't remember how far I got. But I played the same map and those same settings. I'm pretty sure he did have a colony wipe and he knocked things back. I want it to be not quite that difficult, but I want it to be really difficult. And what it might mean is that there are colony wipes. I find that level of difficulty frustrating but fun. I've not really done a video series with that level of difficulty. And I don't know if it will work because I don't know if people will enjoy it. Because like with that, I would get to cycle maybe 5 or 6 or whatever. I would make a simple mistake and I would colony wipe. And that might be really frustrating to watch. And if it doesn't work, I'll bin the idea off and I'll stick to doing it in my own gameplay occasionally. If you folks think that's going to be awful to watch, please let me know now and I maybe won't even attempt it. But that the bit of a hard mode save where you're trying to survive, I think is often quite good fun. And extending that by making the game hard and having a chance of failure, I think is good fun. And if you've played Timberborn a lot, unless the map is brutal, it's often quite rare that you'll fail in hard, even in hard mode. And so I want to set it up to fail so that there is a chance I will fail and I have to come up with another strategy or adapt or whatever. And eventually, hopefully, thrive. And that might frustrate some of you, and so we'll see how we get on. I think it could be fun. It might not be. And I'm desperately trying to fill until the point where stuff is done, which we're pretty much at. We've got 1.9 days left in this bad tide. We should be able to get this construction done. I now don't need them to be trying to bring over metal. Particularly, but we won't have them do that. What I need them to do is build the power connection to actually have power being transferred. And I think what we'll do is we'll prioritize the first one because that will hook up 450,000 HP's worth of power storage. because obviously more than that, 750,000 HP's worth, because there's 5 of these, not 3 of them. So yeah, we've suddenly got ridiculous amounts of power storage available to us, and we're spinning it up really quick as well, which is insane. And obviously the probably one of the better ways to monitor this is to head over to this guy, which tells us that we are at 51% battery storage. Now our battery storage, I don't even know how many are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 21 of those, which is 21 times 53. That's 3,150,000 HPH. And then we've got the ones over there as well, and that one. So we've got an awful lot of power storage if we fill it up. Now this will switch off soon, but I'm pretty pleased that we've got that much power storage available. I did block these bad water drains off just because I didn't want them interfering with stuff. The only reason I put this clutch here was just to be able to show you how much power this thing was generating, which is stupid. So the output is variable, and I think if I'd made these supports levies, it would have been more for the ones further back, but so much it's not important. And yes, there is an uneven gap in there. I couldn't be bothered to change it once I'd laid it all out. So the last thing we're going to do is have a look at how things fill up in, we're at 81%, so yeah, we've got lots of power stored. How things fill up in the Dragon Sea as the new water source, the new stronger water source here kicks in, and everything else flows. Right, the bad tide is ending, and we will see this thing starts to just shut down and stop producing power pretty quickly. Actually, it was a pretty brutal cutoff there. I was running it previously on a much slower setting, so yeah, because my laptop couldn't handle running this. But anyway, we managed to save up 99% of our power requirement, which is good because this supply is being outstripped by the demand quite heavily, but equally it looks like it's going to last quite a while. So I don't have smart power installed, but then if we come over here, things are going to be much better behaved in general, so that's good. If we come over here with our stronger water source, what's going to happen? So this needs to get to 6.6 before it's going to be overflowing, or over 6.6. Before I increased that strength, it took most of the cycle to get that required depth, because obviously we're pumping water out to do the irrigation. So it took a while, but you know, I got some paths to delete here that I could have deleted a while ago, and we could have had more tree spreadage because the paths stop spreading of stuff. Something to bear in mind if you're trying to do this kind of natural forestry things. But that's pretty quickly filling up, which I really like. That's just going to sit there and do not a lot. That looks like it's going to sustain the delta pretty well, actually. So I like that, because it's running our extra science as well. The extra science is what, 40, was it 3,500 HP? No, 4,000 HP. So that's a moderate chunk of the delta. We could hook the other ones up as well, I guess. but I don't fancy doing that. I want to keep an eye on a couple of things. So if we come over here, so once this starts to overflow, this just sits at a kind of steady amount. The outflow here is enough that it just rips through here and is good. That one extra bit was enough. This is starting to overflow, so we are going to quite quickly end up with, I think, a full Dragon Sea. And so this was the project that kept the save alive for a bit longer. There were some other things that people wanted doing. There is the very strong bad water source that sits under the Dragon Sea that we're not using. There was a suggestion to have open some of these, and I did think about putting some of the wind tunnels on top of them so that they can have flying beavers on them and stuff like that. But honestly, I think we're at a good point with this save. We've done a lot. We've achieved most stuff. The well-being is dropping slightly as the Earth repopulator bonus falls off, but we can always just hit that again and get that going. I'm so curious about how the power's dropping as we're using it. Always dropped off 13% in a day. So we're probably going to be able to keep that sustained. The problem will be if we get a drought, I guess, rather than a bad tide. I had 2 bad tides in a row, which was kind of cool. So yeah, you can see this is just sitting consistently at that 6.25 meter depth. And this, is just flowing out through the 2 dam pieces. So it's just going to fill really quite nicely, I think. Much better than it did before, because previously, I'm just trying to look, it was 2 blocks below this. So the deepest I got it before was to pretty much the height of this platform, just over the height of that platform I've just put down. Which if they can get to, I will let them build just as a reference marker. And then everything started to get very messy, as you can imagine, with essentially water flowing over here. Didn't do any, just it kind of flooded this a little bit. Everything very quickly recovered, but it was a bit messy here. So this is about as deep as I've got it so far. We're about to exceed that, which is really cool because we've not even had the notification yet that the temperate season is over. So, and we're still flowing brilliantly. But I think, folks, we will leave it about there. We're at 82% on the power. So it's day 5. We've just had the announcement of another bad tide coming, which is good for the power grid, but we aren't going to see that. This has filled up, which is fine because it just sits full, and the fill valves down here slowly let it fall through the first bit of the bad tide or drought. This is sitting at 6.66 meters and is then flowing into here. This is filling up nicely. It's looking really cool, actually. It's all still flowing over here just fine. What I wanted to show you is that, so obviously this is now full, so the water can't flow through this way. So these have actually pausing on and off. Now, we could get a bit more water out of this, but this is still sat at the same 6¼ meters. So there's potentially, if we wanted it, there's a little bit more water available in this, because we could have this overflowing this way now, with a bit of logic work, or we could make this bigger, or have an aqueduct from or a direct path through here. There's ways we could make this work and get even more water flowing. We don't really need to. This will fill up. We've got 1.5 days left, and we are on the verge of being full. I've got this set to 2.6. So this will start overflowing just as it hits this level, which I think is pretty good. There we go. We just lost the last of the power containment. So look at that. I'm so pleased that we actually got this to work at the end of the last video of the series. This has been an interesting map. Obviously, I conquered the map relatively early. I had the benefit that I had played this map before and was aware of most of the challenges that are in this map. It's a brilliant map. The map creator did a really good job of making this a hard, challenging map. It's very different how this thing starts out. There isn't plentiful water really until you get later on in. We're very plentiful now, partly because I've done a few late game tactics. But yeah, very enjoyable map. If you haven't played it, I recommend it. Once you've watched someone play it, though, it kind of loses its excitingness. But yeah, very fun series, I think, anyway. For me to play, it was very fun. I hope you have enjoyed it. And I will be back with something slightly different in a few days. As always, thank you to the patrons and the YouTube channel members. Appreciate your support. Thank you for everyone for your comments and suggestions and help along the way. You guys spotting my mistakes really helps. And your suggestions and corrections and things definitely does help me do better at this. So it is appreciated. Seeing how full we were. And I will see you all next time for new Timberborn.